Hey everybody, welcome back to another video with Lim Reviews. Today we're going to be comparing two devices that I have on my desk right here. On the left we have the OPPO Reno5F and on the right we have the Galaxy A32 5G by Samsung. So basically both devices here are actually 5G devices and they're both available in Malaysia here for RM1199. But yeah, let's check out these devices and find out what is really different between the OPPO as well as the Samsung. Now both devices are of the same price, but we're getting very different kind of specifications on both devices right here. So first and foremost, we're going to check out in terms of build quality and design, how do they both look like. On the left here, we can see that the OPPO is actually a very much more slimmer device here. It fits very nicely in my hand, and of course it is a very slim profile as well. Definitely not a very heavy device. Do note that I do have a couple of fingerprints at the back here, but otherwise this is a pretty generic design that we've seen on most smartphones these days, and this is what you get with the OPPO Reno5F. Bear in mind that at the front here we do get a tiny camera cutout on the top left corner. I think that's really good because the cutout is really tiny. So moving on to the Galaxy A32 5G from Samsung. This one here actually comes in a pretty unique design. I'm not too sure about the color here, but we do have the purple version. On first impressions, it's definitely a bit more chunkier compared to the OPPO device, which is very slim. So just putting both side by side, take note at how thick the Galaxy A32 is, and obviously that's because it has a slightly larger battery in the back. In terms of the camera design, this is what you get with the Samsung device. Again, I'm not too sure about this design right here, but it does look rather clean. At the front here, in terms of the camera cutout, we do have a teardrop notch at the front. If you ask me, I would say I prefer the tinier cutout on the top left corner for the OPPO, but this is basically, in terms of design, what you get with the Samsung A32 5G. Alright, so in terms of the displays, let's start off with the OPPO device first. Here we have an AMOLED display, 1080p. There's no high refresh rate right here, but this is pretty much what you get with the OPPO Reno5F. Whereas on the Samsung A32 5G, it is a stark difference here. It is only 720p and you only get a TFT LCD display. Honestly speaking, the only good thing I can say about this A32 right here is that it does get pretty bright outdoors, but resolution wise it is just very poor. If you take a look at the icons here and you look at it closely, you will be able to see the pixels coming off of it because this is a 720p panel stretched across a pretty wide space here, so you're going to see some pixels on the display itself, and that's definitely not good. The second thing, of course, since this is an LCD panel, you can't really compare it with an AMOLED display. The darker levels here, you can just take a look for yourself here. It is so much more darker on the OPPO device right here. So in terms of displays, the OPPO totally knocks out the Samsung out of the water. Alright, next thing we're going to talk about here is processing power. Now both devices here comes with different chipsets, although they are pretty close together in terms of performance. So the OPPO on the left here comes with the Helio P95 processor, whereas on the Samsung device right here we do have a slightly newer Dimensity 720 processor right here. So again, like I said, in terms of performance wise, the newer processor here is actually about 5 to 10% faster than the OPPO device, just in terms of benchmark scores. So if you just want to call it a win based on numbers alone, the Samsung device here is slightly ahead in terms of processing power. Now both devices here also comes with 8GB of RAM and 128GB of internal memory, so that's pretty much tied up there. But in terms of just day-to-day use, it is actually pretty similar in terms of speed and all that. So I didn't notice like any device being a bit faster than the other one. Both are actually equally fast. I wouldn't say that they're the fastest out there, but this is what you can expect with mid-range devices these days. Performance-wise, I would say it is pretty much a tie, even for gaming and also social media on a day-to-day use. So that's for the performance. Next thing we want to talk about here actually is the cameras at the back. So on the OPPO device here, we do have a 48MP main, we have an 8MP ultra-wide and 2MP depth sensor and another 2MP macro sensor. Whereas on the Samsung device here, we also get a 48MP main and also a 8MP ultra-wide, a 5MP macro and a 2MP depth. So the only difference here is that the macro sensor on the Samsung device here is slightly higher resolution compared to the OPPO device right here. Now in terms of actual photos taken by this device here, I would say that based on my comparison, I noticed that the OPPO device did able to get some pictures that are more color accurate, whereas on the Samsung device here, it is pictures that are more saturated, colors that pop a little bit more. So it really depends on what kind of photos you are looking for these days. Do you want to have a device that shows more accurate colors, or would you prefer a device that provides you like a better visually appealing picture that is on the Samsung? So altogether, I would say that both images here have similar resolutions, but the color and all that is slightly different. For a more natural approach, go with the OPPO, and for a more saturated approach, go with the Samsung. Alright, last but not least, before I end this video, I want to talk a little bit about battery life, and that is pretty much a huge difference here as well. We have 4300 mAh here on the OPPO, and that's why it is so slim, because the battery is a little bit smaller. Whereas on the Samsung A32 5G here, we have a 5000 mAh battery. So clearly, the Samsung has a longer battery and it will last longer than the OPPO device right here. However, in terms of charging speeds, I would say that the OPPO here is definitely faster than the Samsung, and that's because the OPPO comes with 30-watt fast charge, whereas the Samsung only comes with 15-watt fast charge. I mean, 15-watt fast charge is as good as no fast charge because it is just so slow, but yeah, this is what you can expect from both devices right here. Overall, that is pretty much what I want to cover about both devices right here. Last thing before I go, I just want to cover a little bit on the speaker quality. They both sound very similar, and they both only have single firing speakers at the bottom, and they do have headphone jacks that come with them. So not too much to compare about there. Alright guys, so overall in terms of the winner, I would say that my choice here is the OPPO Reno5F for a couple of reasons. At the same price for both devices right here, the OPPO just has a marginally better display, something that you cannot ignore. It has a slightly better camera. I prefer more natural colors. And although the battery is a little bit smaller, it can still last about 1 day here, and it comes with faster charging. So that's my choice right here for this comparison between the OPPO Reno5F as well as the Samsung A32 5G. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this pretty quick comparison here. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave them down in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!